get into one of my cars, you get in the win.
I'm Chris Osaki, Creative Director for Forza Motorsport. We are bringing new racing dynamics, visual fidelity, and gameplay detail to every track. This includes weather, 24-hour day-night cycles, and track evolution. More tracks are coming to Forza Motorsport after our launch on October 10th, including past favorites and brand new challenges to keep the competition fresh and exciting. We can't wait to share more. See you at the starting line.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Hey guys, this is Matt Hagan, three-time funny car world champion, and you're watching Drafting the Circus.
They start a little earlier. This is a recent trend of starting in turn 12. Here we go, and Graham Rahal has been given the flexibility and permission by race control to start it when you feel it's ready to go. Dixon alongside in that bright orange and blue machine alongside Colton Herter. Where's the championship leader? He's on the inside. Rahal into turn 1. Do we get through cleanly? There's a lockup, a little bit of contact there.
Two cars going through. I think that might have been Kyle Kirkwood in the pink car going long and hitting one of the barriers, but up front they continue to race. Look at Dixon, orange and blue car trying to sneak on Colton Herta in the black and yellow.
Rossi up the inside there, power side by side. Look at this. Good stuff from the teammates, but the dirt flies. One of those cars is Ilott. Grosjean got airborne. Wheels slamming, cars hitting.
And the left front from Romain Grosjean is destroyed.
Power was even looking a little bit racy there into turn 1 as we see Kirkwood try to make up some of that ground on Helio Castroneves. Great move through the first chicane. Will Power's off, turn 4.
Is that contact from Alexander Rossi? These guys were arguing over the same piece of track multiple times. He stalled. Power needs help, and it's a caution.
This is the story of red versus black tires, but it started much earlier. Two cars going side by side. Oh, there he goes. That's in turn 4. I initially thought 7.
Back to racing. Here we go into turn 1. Watch the teammates further back in the orange machine. Rosenqvist on the inside of Rossi. Here he comes, turn 12. Graham's crawling down pit lane here. Here comes the Freightliner Chevy down the front straight. He's at speed. Rahal to get off that pit lane speed limiter.
Graham will be there first, but on cold black tires as McLaughlin has a full lap of temperature in his Firestones.
And we're on borrowed time as far as seeing Felix's. There's a quick, good race off pit lane between the teammates there. And Award comes back on the inside of Felix. They almost touch.
Award should have the advantage on the Reds in a couple of corners, but not if he slides off track.
Overtake. Mixture 1, overtake.
So that's the call, overtake. You want to try to get up to speed as quickly as possible on that outlap.
Don't get a blocking penalty, Alex Palou.
That was marginal.
Absolutely deserving of review. I don't care if it's Helio Castroneves who you're not battling at the lead. That looked like a move in reaction to.
You see a drop of rain on that lens, or is that just fuel coming, or the spray water coming off the back of... Oh, here we go.
Ericsson goes through. It is overcast here in Portland. There goes VK. Renus, VK. That's the difference between cold and hot tires.
Pato Award, who battles Dixon for a podium position. Marcus Armstrong here with a 7. Oh, no, loses the right rear.
Just when he was poised for his equal best IndyCar result, it's all gone away.
Oh no, Canapino, right when his Rookie of the Year rival, Marcus Armstrong, has trouble. Canapino now.
Guys, if the yellow comes out, Felix Rosenqvist is going to be the big loser here. He has not yet pit.
Here we go, back to green in Portland. 22 laps to go.
Marcus Armstrong in that green number 11 on the inside of Stingray Robb. His teammate Scott Dixon going with him, but because of that problem in pit lane, Armstrong's a lap down. He needs to let Dixon go by, and there he goes.
Out of push to pass, runs 12th. On board here with Harvey. They touched in front of him. Ericsson, contact with Rossi.
That was wild at 180 miles an hour.
Trying to set up maybe, oh no, he's gone off.
Oh,
he's
no.
going around, no. And he stalled it.
This could bring out a call. No, he restarted it. Dumped the clutch, bump started his race car, lost about 5 positions in the process.
And here he is, Alex Palou, for the second time in 3 years, is an NTT IndyCar Series champion. Hello, Palou, a champion again.
Let's go, boys! Oh my God! Let's go! Thank you! You guys are the best!
If there was ever a mic drop in IndyCar racing, we just witnessed it. What a moment.
And you know what? They were kind of Zanardi-esque. Maybe not as long, but he now is a 2-time champion for Chip Ganassi, like Alex Zanardi. What a cool moment for Alex
And
Palou.
IndyCar champion. Nice job, buddy.
A champion has been crowned before the season is over. It's Alex Palou. Consolidates his position in the history of the NTT IndyCar Series by winning his 2nd title.
Watch the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey, Sunday, September 10th at 2:30 p.m. on NBC.
Drivers, start your
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Hoobazoo Radio Network, and welcome to the Drafting the Circus program. My name is Frank Santorowski. I'll be your host for the next hour as we go over this past weekend in racing and preview next week. Joining me in the studio, Richard Uden, Levi. What's up, fellas?
How's it going? What's going on?
Good to see you both. Louise, Torres, off on assignment, taking pictures at Seattle Mariners game.
He does more assignments than most high school kids, that boy.
I mean, you know, the Seattle Mariners say they need a photographer. I guess they call Louise, right? So, but good for him, right?
Yeah.
Well, we did send Louise to Portland.
Yeah.
And he took many pictures of the Indy race in Portland, but unfortunately, he's not here to report on it. So,
some great photos as well. Louis
great photo, yeah.
He's
he really does a good job.
Work.
So,
yep.
All right, so real quick, hats off to the sponsors. We've got that trailer for that Ferrari movie that's coming out in the late fall, early winter. Xbox, Forza Motorsport with weather and real-time dynamics. Ryan Blaney, early detection. Then you saw the race highlights from the Portland Grand Prix. So let's start there. IndyCar crowned their champion this weekend, a week early, the first time since Sebastian Bourdais in 2008 locked up a championship before the season was over.
Question for you, Frank. Very, very quickly, Frank, on that one. And I know you know the answer to this off the top of your head. For that period where they had double points for the final race, if they hadn't had double points, would somebody have locked up the championship before the final race?
Perhaps. Yeah, there were a couple that were, but a lot of them were, a lot of the championships over the last 20 years were really, really close. I mean, we had a couple of guys that even tied points at the end of the day.
Yep.
I mean, Montoya lost a tiebreaker to Dixon at one point in time.
Yeah. That was at Sonoma, wasn't it?
For Franchitti.
Yeah, it was like 15 or 16, wasn't it?
15 or 16. It was Dixon. Dixon in 15, yep. So
because he didn't Power turn Montoya at Sonoma or something in the final race of the year.
Yes, that was a good one. Yeah, that was a season ender for the ages. So what? So Portland wasn't a season ender, and Palou in really good shape on points, right?
Yeah.
All he needed to do was to make sure he didn't drop his points lead from 70 some to 55, right?
He did
didn't need to lose any points, right? He needed to walk out of Portland with 55 points. So he could have played it safe, but instead he goes, I'll just go ahead and win the race. That way we're good, right? So, what a way to seal up a championship. And I do think that on our last week's picks, I said I'll pick Palou to go ahead and win the race and put a nice bow on it. So I got one right this year.
Okay.
But it was Graham Rahal starting from the pole again. Another pretty good qualifying weekend for those guys, but he was not able to capitalize in the race. I mean, if it could go wrong for Graham, it did. I mean, we're talking you just pitting at the wrong time, right? So where he's coming out of the pits right into heavy traffic, right? We're right behind a bunch of lap cars, and nothing went right his whole day. Then his last,
hang on, Frank. You say that you don't see Dixon and Power come out in traffic as often as you see the other guys come out in traffic because they plan it, they use strategy. They know.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah,
we're gonna run 2 laps longer on these tires. It's going to hurt us, but we're going to come out in clear air, which is more important on new tires. And so I get the frustrations and wasn't he unlucky? But maybe this is part of the difference that you see between the big teams and the smaller teams.
Oh yeah, because they take every detail into account.
Exactly. Yeah, they can predict all these things and they analyze all these things and they strategize them all a lot better. And you look at it and say, "Oh, unlucky" or whatever. But look, only get yourself up.
In racing, people talk about luck in racing a lot, but there's a lot of luck that you where you make your own luck.
Yep.
Or your own bad luck. You can make your own good luck too. So, but we did see Palou nail the strategy just right, as did his teammate Dixon, who wound up third on the day. Felix Rosenqvist separating those two on the podium. So good days for all those guys. And championship wrapped up. We're off to Laguna Seca next.
Yep.
And there's a couple guys still chasing seats. A couple guys know where they're going next year. So let's talk about a little bit of that. So speaking of Felix Rosenqvist, right? It's so that McLaren seat that people thought he would retain. Yeah, I want to say Zach said several weeks ago that they weren't retaining Felix. Why? I'm not sure. I don't know who they have in mind, but I have a stinking suspicion it's David Malukas, right?
Yeah.
But Felix went ahead and signed with Meyershank, which Meyershank needs a guy of that caliber. But at the same time, when you think about it, right? So who did Shank have this year, right? Elio and Simon, right? You're talking very experienced guys who did very little to elevate the performance of that team. And of course, Simon's been out for since
half the season.
Yeah. And he's obviously not returning next year since they gave his seat away, Simon made a nice little statement thanking the team. The team said they'd assist him in any way they could, which may
hold the door open for him on the way out.
Well, it may end up them putting him in their sports car next year. I don't know, right? But
yeah.
And I really don't know the extent of Simon's injuries or where he's at in his recovery. Although it's definitely not great if he's been out this long. Again, it mirrors the Kurt Busch situation where it's week to week, every week, or maybe this week, and now. So that's where Felix is off to, and we're thinking Malukas is going to take that seat at McLaren. The other name that's being thrown around there is Andretti. If Andretti runs a fourth car, right? They're kind of a little up in the air on whether or not they're going to run a fourth car. They haven't really decided if it makes sense. I guess
they've got a new name.
Andretti Global, right? Andretti Global, which is the name of their investment company where they got all their Formula One money piled up.
Andretti, please let me into Formula One Global.
Yes. I don't know that I'm a fan of the name Andretti Global.
It's kind of
Andretti Autosport. It tells you what we do, right? And Andretti Global could be a shipping company.
Yes.
But either way. That's the route they want to take. A new logo, new name. Still don't have a new facility. There's still a bunch of lawsuits going on with the contractors and subcontractors there, which is actually in a way hindering McLaren from expanding to 4 cars, because McLaren's plans were to move into Andretti's old shop when Andretti moves into his new. But if Andretti doesn't move out, McLaren can't move in. So they're probably left with the 3 cars. Unless they pick up a technical alliance somewhere or another, right? And again, Andretti I think he's looking at the Penske model, where when Penske, every time they seem to expand to 4 cars, and they've done it several times in the past, they're just not as successful as when they run 3 cars. When they run 3, they're running leaner. All their drivers are winning. It seems like when they run 4, there's always one odd man out, right? Or, one guy just maybe win 1 race. So Andretti's looking at that, but he's not ruled out the 4th car. But it would be kind of sad to see his seat just disappear out of the series when we've added seats every season the last couple of years. We're running fields of 27 and 28 cars on a regular basis. So Lee, did you get a chance to watch the race?
I did not. I watched the highlights. So.
Okay. All right. Richard, did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched a majority of it. Yeah, it was it was a pretty good race on the whole. I thought, they did what they needed to do and brought it home. Typical, easy for me to say. Typical Ganassi race win, really. Scott Dixon's heir apparent has been found in Alex Palou. I think not just in terms of the raw speed, but the way he goes about winning championships. And while you were talking there, I was just doing some quick, calculation, or not calculations, but looking back in history. So if Palou finishes in the top 10 this weekend, he'll be the only, in the last 20 years, I think, the only champion to finish every race in the top 10, which is a remarkable statistic in a single make, not a single mate, but a spec series, pretty much. I mean, the last one that I can find that came close was Dario in 2007, when his worst result was 1 race where he finished 13th. Outside of that, everything else was in the top 10, and it just shows.
I remember for a while they talked about Tony Kanaan in 2004. I don't think all his finishes were in the top 10, but he finished on the lead lap in every race. That was considered pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah. So 8th was his worst result, and I think Palou's worst result this year is 8th as well. So
sounds about right. I think he had two aces back to back, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he's
leading into this race here.
Pretty rarefied air right there. So,
of course, he could take next weekend off and
exactly
if he wanted to.
No, it's fantastic. His performance this year and Portland just typified the whole season for those guys. And fair play to them. It's been fantastic. And as I say, Chip must be so happy he's found his next Scott Dixon right there. It's uncanny.
When it comes to strategy and the race calls, nobody does it better than Ganassi, and then they've been doing it time and time again, right? So I want to say since they left kart in 2002, I want to say this is their 11th championship, right? Because you figure they've got 6 with Dixon, 2 with Dario, and now 2 with Palou.
Target. No, it used to be Target Chip Ganassi, didn't they? Race victory, drivers championship.
No, they've got 3 with Dario. Yeah, 11, right?
11 in total. Yeah, that's pretty damn impressive, isn't it? I mean,
wow. Well, that's if 11
IndyCar championships. Yeah, Vassar in '96, Zanardi 7 at 97, 98,
right.
Montoya, Dixon 03, 08, Dario 9, 10, 11. Dixon 13, 15, 18, 20, Palou 21, 23. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, they've got their proverbial stuff together, right? So,
and you look at all those guys, and even Frank, you follow the series, a lot closer than I do. But could you, hand on heart, say in any of those seasons, the driver that won the championship, maybe apart from Montoya, was actually the raw fastest driver of the year? The years Dario won, probably Will Power quicker.
I want to say probably Zanardi and Montoya were both the raw fastest drivers.
Yeah,
that was
in the last 25 years.
That was very early on.
Yeah,
but Dixon and Dario are both calculating drivers, and they drive smart. They drive hard, but they also drive smart. They're not, they don't make a lot of mistakes, and that's how you win championships. You don't make a lot of mistakes. How many more championships would Will Power have had he not been aggressive in his earlier years?
Yeah. You remember those, but I mean, was it like 10 or 9, 10, 11? All those championships by Franchitti, Power, I think, finished.
Power was second
in all of those and had a chance going to the final race to win them.
Yep.
So, it epitomizes that team and that.
He lost 3 to Franchitti and 1 to Hunter Ray.
Yeah.
And he could have won any of those if he drove more in the Dixon Palou mold.
No, I think it's brilliant. I really do. I think that, you've really got to take your hat off to the organization. Obviously everybody looks at the Penske's and the Andretti's, but that team, for want of a better word, oozes class. You don't have the whole contractual nonsense that you get with, obviously the Palou thing, but I think they were on the receiving end of it rather than the McLaren end of it. They just do their business and they get on with it, and it just oozes class, those guys, and a lot of respect for what they do.
Yeah. So
if there was a team that was going to go to F1 out of Indy, I would rather see Ganassi go than Andretti. I think Ganassi's got a much better all around fit to the F1 scheme of things. And I think, honestly, I think Chip and his team would be welcomed into the F1 world with open arms, where the F1 world, from what I can see, and I'm not deep into F1, it is a little bit hesitant to welcome Andretti into the fold.
I think they'd be equally hesitant to welcome a Chip Ganassi into the fold as well. Just saying,
because they're outsiders, you think? Because we're an American team, so to say.
Because they like 1/10 of the money and don't want to make it 1/12, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it has more to do with money than it has to do with nationality. So
but I think Ganassi would be a much better fit in the F1 world than Andretti. Just a class act, as far as I know.
Yeah. Andretti needs to honestly. He needs to shore up his operations on the IndyCar team before he, moves forward. And they're not worst on the grid, right? They've got 2 race wins this year, but this is a team that just, 18 years ago was clicking off championships, Indy 500s left and right. They don't have anything big to hang their hat on since Takuma won Indy in 17.
Yeah.
So and that's 17 doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but the years
getting there, isn't it?
the years march forward, right? So, I mean, yeah. So Palou did, and Chip did make the announcement that to confirm that Palou is coming back to Ganassi next year on a multi-year deal, and usually in the IndyCar series, a multi-year deal is usually 2 years with an option for a third. Now, most of your IndyCar, they don't share the contract deals, but that's pretty standard. So that's good. That keeps them in the fold for a while. And then they're going to have Linus Lundqvist on the team there. And here's a guy that everybody felt sorry for because Stingray Robb got the coin ride and he didn't, and he had to sit out a year, and now he ends up with a Ganassi ride. So, good for you, Stingray, in the coin car. So, yeah, I mean, all he had to do was get behind the wheel and run a couple races. And Chip said, "Yeah, I thought I liked that guy. Let's get him in while we can." So now he's not required to bring funding. He's got a ride, getting a paycheck, and he's got solid teammates in Dixon and Palou. I'm pretty sure Armstrong's staying on next year. The question is whether he's going to run the full series or if they're going to get somebody else in for the ovals. But I know Armstrong wants to do the ovals. So, and I'm not sure why he didn't do the ovals the first year. I don't think it had anything to do with him. It had, I think, more to do with Chip needing some additional funding that Honda was happy to provide with Sato in that car. Plus the the additional sponsorship from Cup of Noodles. So so that's I would say it's a wrap on an IndyCar season, but it's not. We've got one race to go, Laguna Seca, heading out there next week, and then after that we'll have the awards banquet following Tuesday in Indianapolis. So now this is kind of fun, right? So Brian Herta, who's one of the principals there at Andretti and one of these strategy callers, father of Colton Herta. So there was a time when Brian Herta was known as the King of Laguna, right? He nearly won the race in '96, but that's when this young dude named Alex Zanardi went a little nuts and drove down the grass in the corkscrew and managed to keep it on the track and robbed Herta of that victory. But then the following couple of years, Herta won two out of the 3 races at Laguna the last couple of years. His most recent win coming in 98 or 99. So, but Colton Herta, now that he's making a little money, right? He's evidently the highest paid driver in IndyCar. He found the guy that owns Brian Herta's old Reynard car that he drove to victory in Laguna Seca, and he bought it and presented it to his dad as a gift, right? So in return, now Keith, do you have that picture? All right, so let's have a quick look at this here, okay? So in return, Brian Herta surprised Colton with this throwback livery that mirrors his dad's car. That's going to go on that Gamebridge car for Laguna Seca, and during the pre-race ceremony and stuff, Brian Herta is actually going to drive the '98 Renard around the track and show it off a little. Then Herta's going to run that. So that's pretty fun little thing. Good look. I mean, it's a good looking livery, right? And that was Ray Hall car at the time. Brian Herta was driving for Ray Hall. So that'll be fun. It's just father-son kind of stuff. Now can Colton Herta be the King of Laguna? He's got at least one win there, right?
Well, that year he won it, he was phenomenal, wasn't he?
He was, untouchable. So I want to say Herta's got 2 wins at Laguna. Colton. I'm not without looking it up. But so that would be pretty neat to see Colton Herta. Number 1 needs a win this season. And number 2, that would just be pretty darn cool to see. So, but that'll be fun. But otherwise, so who do you guys like for Laguna? You got a couple guys out there dying for a win, and this is your last shot. You got your Rossies, your Pato Award. Will Power hasn't won a race this year yet. McLaughlin would love to get another one. Erickson would love to get another one on the way out the door at Ganassi. Stingray Rob would love to win a race.
Yeah, he really would. He had a halfway decent showing in Portland. I mean, it wasn't the best, but he was on the TV a couple times. That's for sure.
All right. So who do you like for Laguna? Just pick one. Doesn't matter. Championship's over.
Willpower.
Yeah, I know.
Willpower. Yep. Yeah, he needs to win.
Yep. I want to see if Herta can follow in his dad's footsteps. Well,
there you go. So you just stole my pick, right? So you got Herta. So that leaves me. I almost want to say Palou just throws another win on top of the season. And makes it 6 on the season, right? Just because he wants to be the next Max Verstappen. I don't know, but any number of guys can win this thing. But I do like Colton Herta for this one if they get the strategy right, But I also like Kirkwood for this one too, So, so speaking of other guys looking for work, right? Jack Harvey obviously was let go out of Ray Hall. They've been running Yuri Vips. Vips didn't have a bad race in Portland. He did acceptable. He qualified 12th, 13, somewhere abouts. Managed to finish today, not getting in any trouble. He's got one more shot with the team there to see if they like to retain him for next year. Now, the last I heard, and this is interesting, Jack Harvey's been talking with Ed Carpenter about taking that seat that was Connor Daly's that Ryan Hunter-Reay is running right now. So
what's happened to Ed Carpenter? Because 4 or 5 years ago they were knocking on the door. I know Joseph was there and it got his break.
They were. They were winning races with Mike Conway. They were winning races with Newgarden. VK won a race not that long ago.
Yeah.
And this year they're horrible.
Yeah. The last 2 years really. They haven't been great since VK won that race.
And that was in 21.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I wonder what's gone on there. It's been a strange dynamic, and they looked like they had so much potential for a while. They were going to be the next big, and Ed was always the banker for a good qualifying at Indy, and he would get the car round an oval pretty competently, and get a top 10 at the ovals. And whatever. But even he's almost embarrassing.
Shadow of his former self. Yeah, he's running at the back of the field. Plus, it's not like they're struggling for money because they signed that big deal with Bitnile. They've got Bitnile on all 3 cars. So,
I saw that Fuzzy's vodka, or is that one gone?
Oh, Fuzzy's been gone for a number of years, yeah.
Okay. I know they had that for a while, didn't they? But yeah.
Yeah, they did have that
That's what normally happens to me after I've drunk the vodka, never mind before, but anyway.
Yeah, so I guess if you put Jack Harvey in the car, you can't get any worse, right?
It's kind of sad that they're, and this is no disrespect for Jack, because he's infinitely better driver than you or I, but it's kind of sad that that's the sort of standard of driver that they're like scrabbling around trying to pick up right now.
Yeah. And but if you fire Connor Daly and pick up Jack Harvey, what are you doing? Right. You know what I mean? It's not exactly an upgrade, right?
No.
Connor Daly, another guy hoping to get something lined up, but I think he's going to be your standby filling guy next year.
Yeah, he's going to go to every race with his seat mold in the back of in the trunk and helmet on his passenger seat, panhandling for a drive, I think.
Yeah, that's where he's going to end up. And then Roman Grosjean is evidently pretty close to signing with Dale Coyne, which is it's where he started his IndyCar career. And they had some good results together, but I'll tell you right, Coyne's season this year has not been wonderful. I mean, Malukas had a couple of decent runs. I think he got a podium at Gateway. But Malukas is disappointed to the point where he made his intention to leave the team a while back.
But that's the interesting thing about
is in over his head, just learning without any strong mentor in there.
But you look at Malukas, and a number of teams have been courting him. I know Andretti courted him, I think, and it looks like he's going to McLaren. But again, not being I know he hasn't been in the best car there, but what's he done? He's had a couple of half decent results for sure, but it's not.
I guess when you compare him to what else is out there, right?
But but there's plenty of kids out there that, we were talking about this before. There's like this core of 10 to 12 top IndyCar drivers that are gonna have a drive every year and a seat every year, and then the rest of them are like this revolving door of meh.
Yeah, I mentioned that with the Indy Next guys. There's not that many of them that have come out and stuck around. Because if you look at all the people that have come and gone, your Spencer Pigotts and Oliver Askew's and all those guys have come and gone, right? I mean, you've got Award and Herta come out pretty good. They're both doing well. They both won races. They'll be around for a while. But I mean, other than that, right? VK is still around, barely holding on because his team is shit. Yeah. I think he's got. I guess it's all the engineering there, right? So, yeah. So it's interesting because a lot of this core that you speak of is going to be gone within
their late 30s, early 40s in some instances. But we're
already losing Pagano out of series. Yeah. Elio's going to be gone again. Hunter Ray's been out and back. Power, probably 2 more years on Power. Dixon, I mean, Dixon's younger than you think, actually, but he's 40. He'll be 44 this year.
Yeah, so I mean,
so he's getting there, right? Sato, 47, right?
Yeah,
Kanon's already gone. All these guys that have been around for years, and then
Graham's your buddy.
I'm not sure how old Graham is.
Late 30s.
I was gonna say he's 38 or 39. Yeah, so
but you look at and I've seen a lot of these social media posts, people criticizing, like when they put in Yuri Vips and Blomqvist and guys like, they're picking up, guys from Europe, Formula 3, Formula 2 guys. Why aren't they picking up the guys from Indy Lights and NXT and stuff like that? Well, because they've tried that and it hasn't worked.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the
talent pool in Formula. No disrespect, but the talent pool in Formula 2 far outstretches anything on the road to Indy Series.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at, for example, Christian Lundgaard, right? Who's overperforming in an underperforming car. The guy's got a couple of poles, several podiums, and he won a race this, and he's won a race this year. Yeah, and he's coming out of Formula 2, right? So, which means this is probably why Rahaal's looking at Yuri Vips. Here's a guy with very similar experience, right?
Yeah.
Santino Ferrucci came out of Formula 2. Again, he's with a shit team.
He came out of Formula 2, all right, didn't he? Yeah.
He was.
He got kicked out of Formula 2. Never mind left.
So did Yuri Vips, by the way.
That's very true. Yeah.
So. Yeah. So, but when you think of the trail of guys that have come and gone and coming out of Indy Lights series with promising IndyCar careers that just never. Zach Veach, another one.
Yeah.
Another guy that we thought had a lot of potential and just kind of fizzled. So, I mean, who's the last really good new guy to hit the series, other than Award and Herta?
Newgarden came through it, didn't he?
Yeah, but he was earlier.
He did time in Europe. Joseph, he raced in Europe as well, didn't he?
He raced British Formula 4.
Formula 4, did. Yeah, he won the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch, which is a huge thing to win for those junior categories.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He knows his way around, But yeah, so it's.
Do you know here's an interesting bit of trivia. Do you know who else won the Formula Ford Festival and beat Lewis Hamilton? IndyCar driver, not current. Recent.
It wasn't Darren Manning, was it?
No,
it was before. No, it was before
Charlie Kimball.
Really?
Yeah.
Lewis didn't have Lewis until he got to GP2 as it was back then. Lewis didn't have he didn't win everything in sight. Like some of these kids do.
Yeah.
And mind you, Seb Vettel didn't either. His junior career wasn't amazing.
Yeah, and you've said the same thing about Palou.
Yeah,
his junior career.
Michael Schumacher's junior career wasn't amazing either. He just been around Spa on a bicycle and that got him.
Yeah. So Lee, you're quiet over there. This is what you get for only watching the highlights. Oh man!
Get that knife out of my back. Oh.
All right. So hopefully by next week we'll have some of the more pressing answers of who's going where answered, and again some of the guys that are in seats don't know if they're like Benjamin Peterson's up in the air. You know, he might be at Foyt, might not. Ferrucci up in the air. We don't know what Foyt's going to do, but I am kind of excited about Foyt having the technical partnership with Penske, because anything would help those guys out. I'll tell you. I mean, they look dynamite at Indy, but there's 16 other races where they were holding up the rear. You know, so. And Stingray not confirmed for next year. We don't know if he'll be back. Yeah, so let's move on then. Talk about NASCAR in Darlington. What are you looking at, Richard? You look like
I'm looking at the past winners of Indy Lights, and there's only Newgarden and O'Ward, past champions,
are
that
still
are in
around.
it still.
Yeah,
yeah. And Lundqvist is obviously going to be around it, but you know, Kirkwood dips in and out. Oliver Askew, IMSA stuff. I think Kyle Kaiser. You know, Ed Jones.
Oh man, Kyle Kaiser, that's the guy that bumped Alonso out of the Indy 500.
Yeah,
that was his crowning achievement of his career.
He hasn't done anything since 2019.
No, he hasn't. He's
Ed Jones
had a couple years in a Ganassi car and fizzled out.
Yeah, Gabby Chavez.
Gabby Chavez runs a mobile oil change company now. If you live in Indianapolis, need your oil change, Gabby will come to your house and change it. I shit you not. I shit you not. He also drives in the Michelin Pilot Series for Brian Herter.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Andretti. Andretti Autosport in IMSA.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you Sage Karam, Christian Vautier, Joseph Newgarden, Jean-Carl Vernet. Sounds like a period painter from the 1600s. But you know, again, you know, it's. You got to wonder. I know they struggled for not attendances. You know, that's the whole thing with.
They struggled with grid size for a while. Sizes,
yeah. But it's like there's no wonder, because who's going to back them when the graduates are over the last 15 years? I'm looking at here, mediocre at best. One or two IndyCar champions. In or two IndyCar championships. I think Joseph's got two, hasn't he? Two championships?
Joseph has two, yep.
Yeah, so that's all that they've got in the last 15 years of IndyCar,
Indy Lights champions.
Indy Lights champions. And race wins, you can, outside of Newgarden, race wins, I think only Awards won a race, hasn't they?
Colton Herter. Oh, you mean of the champions?
Yeah.
Herter ran second in the championship, second to Award. Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is.
But yeah, Ed Jones never won a race, and
no.
Chavez.
Anyway, that's
anyway.
Moving on.
Let's go to drive through the woods and go to Darlington. Drive through the sticks. You hear the banjo music.
Yeah, there's no woods around Darlington. It's just miles and miles of trailer parks. And, seawards, yep.
So, Richard, you get a chance to watch it?
Darlington's my favorite racetrack. I did. Darlington's my favorite racetrack. So
it is fun.
All right, so Kyle Larson for the win.
Yeah.
Starting out the first guy to secure a spot in the next round of the chase. So, Lee, what are your impressions of that Darlington race?
I always love Darlington. I always think it's a great race. It's a lot of fun. It's excessively long. It's a good 5 or 6 hour race, no matter where you're at. It was a good race. I was very impressed with Bubba. I thought Bubba had a great showing, which he typically does at Darlington. I think it's one of his better tracks. Kyle Larson picking up the win, guaranteeing his seat. That's pretty cool. Getting that first one under his belt. But I thought it was a decent race. Oh, like I said, it was long though. It was made for a long night, but it was fun. It was a good race.
All right.
Yeah.
What did you think, Richard? I didn't see a lot of it. I caught the highlights.
Yeah,
I had it on the television while I was resting my eyes.
Yes. Yeah, it's quite a good late Sunday of a holiday weekend. It's quite a good anecdote for insomnia, that one. it's a classic race. You know, it's one of NASCAR's crown jewels, I guess, with the Daytona 500 and the Coke 600. Sellout crowd, fantastic. You know, I mean, that place sells out every year, which is fantastic to see.
Yep.
You know, I know it was. You know, it's one of those. You know, it just oozes sort of classic NASCAR, doesn't it? And I know it was our, you know, dear friend Gray Warren's probably favorite race to go to. He went to like 60 of those things in a row or something, didn't he? Something incredible, and he never missed that place. But it, you know, the racing's always good there. You know, you run so close to the wall, and it caught guys out. You know, caught Christopher Bell out, who had a pretty quick car all weekend and just tagged the right side and damaged his toe link. I think Joey Laguna had a similar issue as well up there. And, you know, there was a few guys that could have, should have. You know, Denny Hamlin had a reasonably quick car and then had a couple of bad pit stops and he had a loose wheel. And, you know, when you've got a 500-mile race like that, you know, it is about not making mistakes. And, you know, the 5 car didn't make a mistake. One of the only few that didn't make a mistake all night. So, you know, fair play to the guy. He did the business, and he's through to the round of 12, as you'd expect. You know, he's one of the, if not the most talented driver out there. So you always think he's going to be there or thereabouts come the championship 4. Never mind getting through to the round of 12. So, you know, as you'd expect, you know, now in the playoff bubble, you know, Chris Bell's down there, Bubba Wallace is down there. The 2 outsiders, probably in Ricky Stenhouse and Michael McDowell, are down there as well. But
Harvick make up any ground. Harvick was close to the bottom too.
Yeah, he's down there as well, I think. But somebody that did impress me, you know, and I never thought he was saying this, but Chris Busch has got a shot at this.
He does. He absolutely does.
You know, he's, you know, you did win the 2, you know, I think it was Michigan and was it Richmond they won?
Michigan and Richmond.
Yeah, then there was the 2 road
Daytona.
courses. Then he won Daytona. Daytona, yeah, whatever. But yeah, he ran well there, you know, and if he runs well at Kansas this coming weekend, on
and
a
he
classic
ran what, 3rd or 4th here at Darlington?
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick was second. Tyler Reddick was pretty good around Darlington.
Yeah, yeah. Tyler's he's in the top 4 or 5 in points. But you know, you put Chris Buescher there. You know, if he gets a good result in Kansas on a classic 1.5 mile track,
you get a racetrack.
You're gonna have to sit and take note of this guy coming through the playoffs here. It's not a flash in the pan anymore. It's consistently running well.
Absolutely, yeah. These guys have, you know, they've got it together pretty well. Weekend,
yeah, out of nowhere, really, out of nowhere. And you know, fair play to the RFK guys. They've stepped the game up massively, and I think, you know, that the mentality that Brad's brought to the team and the work ethic and the expectation of success is, you know, a huge boost to those teams. And I'll tell you, you know, it's a slightly different situation, but it's something I've been through. When I was, you know, spending that time with Richard Childress Racing, you know, to be blunt, you didn't expect to win. You know, they talked about, we're going to every race with a chance of winning. You didn't really. And when you did steal a win through fuel mileage or strategy, it was amazing. Now being with Toyota, Toyota go into every race weekend expecting to win. If we do not win, we're disappointed. And it's a completely different mentality. And that's what a guy like Brad Keselowski's brought to that team.
Yeah.
You know, when he was at Penske, he will have turned up every weekend at that racetrack thinking, we've got all of our ducks in a row here to give us the best opportunity to win this race. And you know, Roush probably never had that, you know, for a long period of time. And now he's brought that mentality, starting to see that pay off. And, you know, I don't think Bush is going to win the championship. But if he's in the final 8 or the final 4, I don't think he's going to, you know, they're definitely...
Yeah, he's not going to go away easily, yeah.
No. In the last 2 months, they've earned that.
Yeah, 100%. And Brad's there to help push him to whatever, you know, Brad to do whatever he can to make sure that Chris is up there. I said it a couple weeks ago, you know, this race team, they started off the season quiet. They were a sleeper team.
Yeah.
Nobody even put them in the top 43, and a couple weeks ago, I said, this team is starting, they're making that uphill climb, and they're plateauing and peaking right when they need to be, right before the playoffs, which they're in the playoffs. Now they're carrying that momentum that they've worked so hard all year to do. They're carrying that into the playoffs. I mean, no offense to Kyle Larson and the Hendricks team, but like I said, they're expected to be there.
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, it was, which Hendricks driver is going to win the championship this year? It's going to be Hendrick. It's going to, this, that, or the other thing. Nobody even put Roush Fenway Kozlowski in the mix, but they've done everything right week after week, and they are peaking right when they need to be. And I would not be surprised if Chris is a top 3. He's going to make I confident to say I think he's probably going to make the top 4 unless something really, really goes south for him. But I mean, what Richard said, this is a contendership team, and Brad has brought that mentality to the team that so desperately needed that.
Yeah, so I guess working for Roger Penske for a couple of decades didn't hurt, right?
Exactly.
He knows how that operation works. So, and the other thing that's great about Brad and where he's at right now is that it's his teammate doing the winning, right? Mm-hmm. And Brad is nothing but supportive. Race car drivers, if nothing else, can be very selfish, and they can be very disappointed when it's their teammate winning and not them. But Brad has been right there heaping praise on Buescher left and right. When they when Buescher won the last race, Brad was out there doing donuts too. So.
But it's Brad still wants to win.
Oh yes,
himself. He's got you can't take that away. But he's a good he's a really genuine guy. I think from everybody that I've known that works with him, he said he's pretty he's switched on. He's a good guy, and it's starting to bear fruit what the project because when he left Penske, you're like Roush, you saw Newman go to Roush and it wasn't great. Obviously he's got that ownership part of it as well, so he's got a vested interest to make sure that they do well. He's paying himself, and I'm sure there's a tax dodge going on in there as well. Doesn't hurt, but it's all part of the momentum there, and they're really starting to turn the corner. And you could you see that the drop off of Stuart Haas racing and Penske aren't what they used to be. You could arguably see in 2 or 3 years' time Roush being back as being the top Ford team, especially with rumors of SHR leaving Ford. Who knows? Who knows where Penske lies? Because
Penske started out the season pretty well, but since then they've just kind of been there. I think Blaney and Laguna have won 1 race apiece.
It's not
when in past seasons, Laguna was always good with 3-4 wins.
Yeah.
So and Cindric has been nowhere.
No. Can I get on my rant that I went on pre-show?
Yes. I do understand that you're not happy with a certain Mr. Dale Jarrett. So let's get into this, right?
I hope you're all sitting comfortably at home. So
I got my gloves off. Richard's got his off.
Oh yeah, I know. I think it's great that we have some of the elder statesmen of the sport, should we say? I don't think that'd be disrespectful to Dale Jarrett there. Come in and they're still active in the sport. They're still in the booth. They're still, around the track every weekend. I think it's great because I think it's an important link between the previous generation of fans and the current generation. I think you've got to try and maintain that link. But it's no secret that NASCAR is struggling for a new younger fan base, and NASCAR is trying hard to embrace this next generation of fans with some new technology. And these new cars, they're still not where they should be, in my opinion, but they're still a step forward from where they were 2 or 3 years ago in terms of the technology that they have. So when you're sat on the pit box now, you don't just get lap times and stuff like that like we used to 4 or 5 years ago now. They get real live, almost telemetry. And you can see everybody's. It's not just your car, it's the whole field. So you can see when they apply the throttle, when they're on the brake, when, what RPMs are running. You can almost calculate fuel mileage and stuff like that. Actually, one of the prediction tools we had at Toyota predicted Chase Elliott running out of fuel at Watkins Glen, and he did. But we have all this information at hand, and it's fantastic. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now, Dale Jr. is very up on his technology. When he was racing, even when he was starting out in racing, he was really into testing and getting data from the car and all of this sort of stuff. He was really into that, and he still is. And he asked, I guess there was a radio communication that the TV feed picked up from the crew chief to the driver, which implied that another driver's, lifting earlier into a corner or is getting back on throttle on the exit of a corner earlier or something along those lines. And Dale Jr. asked Dale Jarrett, back in your day, what would you have done if a crew chief had come on the radio and told him that? And he just destroyed it. He dismissed it out of context. Now, I don't care if that's true or not. Fundamentally, we all know, to put it bluntly, that the journalists and the reporters and the announcers, they bullshit themselves every week to make themselves sound good. Oh, I sat down and spoke with this driver. No, you didn't. You read a press release and you make it out as if you had dinner with them at a restaurant. Then they didn't. No, it's all smoke and mirrors to make themselves sound good. But this is where NASCAR needs to, you need them to play the game. You need Dale Jarrett to turn around and say, "Oh, I wish I had that in my day. Oh, it'd have been fantastic." Yeah, even if it wasn't true, Dale, I don't care. Just say it, because then it gets people engaged and it gets people on board and it helps build this. The last thing the guy at NASCAR who's trying to push all this new technology needs to hear is somebody that is reasonably well respected in the sport telling them it's a load of crap. Go with it. Just push the agenda. And I know it's manipulation and it's not, necessarily the truth. But as I say, none of those announcers speak the damn truth anyway. So,
yeah. I mean, look at the technology in your road car today.
Yeah, I can go on my phone right now
versus what you had several years ago. I mean, the last car I had was a 08, right? And then when I bought my current car, which is a 19, I was blown away by what they've done just in that 10-year period. I'm like, my God, well, and why aren't we embracing that? And again, people think that stuff is cool and it's neat, and young people enjoy tech. And for Dale Jarrett to say, I never would have.
Yeah, it's like, come on. It may be true. It may be true, but don't say it. NASCAR should be.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a huge amount of respect to the guy. He knows his, he knows his stuff. Don't get me wrong, and great to have these sort of guys still involved in the sport, because I say it's that bridge and that link between the previous generation and the current generation, which I think is so valuable and important. But come on, we're
yeah. So we talked
really frustrated me.
We talked about the technology thing before we came on the air, and it's we talked about simulators and Richard brought up some of the other things that go on behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
The things that are cool to me are like, so I have a person I know that works for a team, NASCAR team, and he's a photographer, and like he takes pictures during the race, and he was telling me, like, he will take pictures of a car's shocks on the right side. And the picture, the second he snaps that picture, it goes to the team. And the team has got, they've got digital, telemetry so they can measure the ride height of that spring. Is it being compressed at the right part of the corner? Is it uncompressing at the exit of the corner when it needs to, so he can get the most push coming out? I mean, and that just, to me, and I mean, I'm not young. But I love the technology behind the racing stuff, and that just blows me away that he takes his picture, click, and within a tenth of a second, that data is on the team's computers on the pit box, and the engineers are looking at that data, saying, hey, next pit stop we gotta, maybe you
take a round out or whatever. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
because
far cry from the days where you had to take the Polaroid and use a put it on a little clothes hanger. Put it down the line. Yep.
There's a song lyric in there somewhere, isn't there? But anyway, we'll leave that to the younger audience.
Yeah. All right. So,
but we there's another thing quickly. I know we've got the Formula One stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we got
Max Verstappen won that. Sorry.
Really? You ruined it for
me. Sorry.
Oh,
but we were talking about there's so much technology involved in NASCAR, especially now, and we were making that. But you see some of the pre-race stuff. And we, jokingly said, you see, what's that guy, Rutledge Wood or whatever the guy's name is, the reporter, he goes around the campsite at the back of turn 3 and they're sat there smoking the raccoons and they've got squirrel on a stick. Great. Okay. Go into these race shops, go in there and show some of this technology because it'll blow people's minds away. It really is. Some of the stuff we do, it'd be fantastic. I know there's a little bit of, they can't show everything, but you can pixel stuff out, pretty easily if they don't want to show stuff. But they need to embrace it. They really, really, really do.
Yeah.
But have you ever had squirrel on a stick?
No, but a friend of mine did once make me a koozie from squirrel skin. So
I'll bet that was good. Yeah. All right, so we're off to Kansas.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Lee, who do you like for Kansas?
I'm going to pick number 23, Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace, okay. Yeah, he had a race one there a couple years.
Back.
Yep. So I'm going to pick Kansas. Okay, I'm gonna pick Keselowski. I think this guy he's still winless this year. So
excuse me.
All right, so let's move here let's go to Italy.
Yeah.
Yep, let's go to Italy where we were wondering if Ferrari was going to rain on the parade of Red Bull like they did with McLaren in 1988 and sneak a win in there on their home turf. They did take the pole, but golly, 12 laps in, Max was in the lead. 4 laps later, he's 20 seconds ahead, and that was that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you could tell from Max's comments post qualifying when GP told him, "Oh, you missed out on pole there by like 0.02 of a second or whatever." Max was like, "Yeah, it's okay."
Who needs a pole, right?
Yeah, they knew. They know how much pace that car's got, and but no, I think it was a good race. Thankfully, we managed to get a race in Italy this year after the tragic events which caused the postponement of the race in Imola with those horrible floods. But we go back to one of the classic. We had Darlington, we had Monza on the same weekend. I mean, can you ask for two more iconic and classic racetracks than those two in the respective series? Probably not. And it was a great race. For once, I thought DRS worked really well. It allowed a car that was behind, especially going into turn 1, to get close. But you had to be fast enough and late on the brake. Very, very few passing moves were made into turn 1 before the braking zone. You see sometimes with the DRS zones that like the car behind is like 2 or 3 car lengths ahead before they even get on the brakes. And it's like, that's kind of crap, Whereas it's still, this aided the overtake. It didn't enable the overtake. And we saw a couple of pretty close incidences, namely the 2 McLaren drivers. And I was with Andrea Seidel, the team principal McLaren, I thought was pretty harsh on those 2 drivers, really. I mean, they were racing and, it's difficult for them not to. But, we saw George Russell got a penalty there for passing Esteban Ocon, and the 2 Ferrari drivers, pretty much every lap for the last 10 laps almost took each other out trying to get that final podium spot. But, Max won, 10th win in a row. Toto Wolff sound like a spoilt brat and petty, petulant comments post-race. Oh, they're only Wikipedia statistics. Nobody really cares about that. Well, a bit like your 7 world championships in a row. That's just on Wikipedia, isn't it?
That's a Wikipedia stat, yeah. I think he really underestimates how many people actually look at Wikipedia.
I know, yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think? How do you think this show works? Jeez,
yeah.
But that wasn't necessary. I wonder if Toto's under pressure at Mercedes. I wonder, because they haven't won a championship. This will be the 3rd year without winning a championship. Yes, they've re-signed Hamilton, and Hamilton hit Piastri mid-race. He was, and Hamilton, fair play to him, turned around and said, "Yeah, I own up to that. My mistake. I moved over and clipped his front wing. I didn't see him. He's in a blind spot. Took responsibility for it," which is fine,
Yeah.
Good. Then Lewis is the only driver that stands up and admits when he makes a mistake. So we're sort of forgetting about Silverstone in 21 then, when he ditched Max into the wall at Cop's corner there. Was it Cop's? Yeah, Cop's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The old first corner. And Max had like a 50G impact or something and ended up in hospital. Lewis admitted to his mistakes there. Didn't? Oh no, wait, he didn't. No. It's just some weird comments.
Hamilton, did Mercedes even win a race last year? I want to say Russell won.
Yeah, George did. George won in
I thought
Brazil,
so, yeah,
I think.
But Hamilton's, season and a half now.
Hamilton's almost 2, yeah. Oh, at least, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
almost 2 seasons going back there. But it's just, Toto, shut up. Just credit where credit's due. Turn around and give them credit. Red Bull have made a better car than you. Max is driving as well as, and probably you can't tell for certain because he's you don't know who what he's up against, but you can't question Max's driving ability.
No, he's spectacular.
Just accept it. Those sort of comments by Toto, just smack of sour grapes and just petulance. And as I said, I wonder if Toto's under a little bit of pressure there from the higher ups in Stuttgart there. I wonder what if there's anything going on in the background there.
Oh, there very well could be. So did I read a news story today that said they finished up all the auditing from last season and all the Formula One teams were found to be in compliance with the budget cap?
So.
Well, that's
which is strange because about a month ago there were some rumors that 2 or 3 teams were over the budget cap. So, yeah, that's a little bit of an unusual one. How that's all suddenly sort of
I'm just glad that it's not a thing this year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, just,
I mean, in all fairness, it affected Red Bull really badly, didn't it?
Yeah, I know they can't buy a 3rd place.
I mean, the stupid thing is, if you're any of the other teams and you see Red Bull get this penalty and still win the championship, why the hell were you under the budget cap?
Exactly. Yeah.
It sort of doesn't make sense. But I think now between now and the middle of November, you're going to have this big story about can Red Bull win every race? We've been talking about it on and off for the last half dozen races probably. And
nobody's come close.
Nobody's coming close. And there's been 2 or 3 gotcha races, with mixed weather.
And Max still wins.
Zandvoort, it was a prime example. Max wins the damn thing. I think Spa was another example where there was some mixed weather. Those are the races where you expect that wild card win.
A surprise winner, yeah. That's
and in all fairness to Checo, because he's not really challenging Max on a regular basis, he's not going to take Max out, or they're not going to clash. And actually, some interesting comments talking about Checo. He pretty much said that he's not going to extend his contract with Red Bull at the end of 24. He's asked about it, and he said, "Well, I'm going to look at my other options and see what seats are available outside of that." So that was an interesting comment. Now, whether he's been told he's not going to be offered a new contract, publicly, Red Bull say they will.
Very, very well could be the case.
He could be out for next year. Who knows?
I would be surprised if he makes it. I'm surprised if he makes a seat in Red Bull next season. But
then who's available? You know,
That's
I
the
I
point.
know
Who's
Red
available?
Bull on 2 or 3 occasions have courted Lando Norris. Now, Lando's contract at McLaren expires at the end of 25. So do Red Bull offer Checo a 1-year extension to take him to the end of 25 and then bring Lando in for 26 with the new regulations in place? Or do they buy Lando out of his contract a year early, or do they put Daniel Ricciardo in there for a couple of years as a placeholder? Because, I mean, Daniel's going to be he's in his early 30s now, so he'll be in his 35, 36 in by the time that that some of the big name drivers' contracts start to expire. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Checo there. I think Max loves it, because Checo will push him every now and again, but Max has basically destroyed him mentally. And I think Max
and the other 18 guys in the grid,
But I think Max would probably be leading the constructors' championship if it was a 1-car team. I think.
You're probably right. Yeah.
She's mind-blowingly impressive. But a couple of weeks time we got Singapore, and a different track there, a new track this year. They've got a new layout. They're doing some work on the track, so it's going to be a slightly shorter lap, faster lap as well. I think the infamous Crashgate corner has been removed for maybe this year and next year, depending on the work they're doing. They're doing a bit of a Monaco and filling in the harbour, realising that they're running out of land in Singapore, so they're filling in a lot of the harbour, and that's necessitated
some changes in
means they have to fill in some of the they have to change the track layout. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. It could be a better layout, who knows? So we've got that in a couple of weeks, and Daniel Ricciardo is probably going to be out for that one. I think Qatar is probably his likely return date. Meanwhile, Liam Lawson's doing pretty well, and you get the impression that Daniel's got a ride in 24 with Red Bull somewhere. Is it
somewhere
to replace Checo, or is it AlphaTauri, or whatever they're going to rename themselves as next year? So if Liam Lawson starts impressing, does that start to put pressure on Tsunoda, who had a very unfortunate race? His engine failed on the formation lap. I got a feeling somebody left a cooling bung in place and cooked the engine on the formation lap, unfortunately. I may be wrong.
That's not good.
But, yeah.
So Richard, I'm going to stop you right there. You see how sad Lee looks? That's because he's looking at the clock and he wants to tell us about the NHRA, the Indianapolis Nationals. So, Lee,
the Nationals are good. We're
already in overtime, so you have to talk fast. Okay. You get a green, white checker, and if you crash once, we get another green, white checker. So you could do that.
Okay. So we'll pass Indy. We'll go straight to Maple Grove this coming weekend. It's the first race of the NHRA championships. Top 3 drivers are Justin Ashley, Antron Brown, and Leah Pruitt. Funny car, Ron Capps, who is going for his 3rd straight championship this year. That only matches John Force. John Force is the only other guy that's ever won 3 championships in a row in NHRA. Matt Hagan, our good friend, he's right behind Ron Capps, chasing him down in 2nd, and then Robert Heitz in 3rd. Pro stock is Dallas Green. That would be Cameron Caruso's teammate. She is in 9th place in the championship. So Dallas Green's going for his. He's leading them with Matt Harford and Erica Enders chasing him for their championship for the next 10 races. Pro Stock Motorcycle got Gage Harana. He's just wrapped it up. He's won every race this year but one. He lost last weekend to Matt Smith in Indy, but Gage is he's on it this year. So like I said, we're off to Maple Grove, PA this weekend for race number 1 of our championship 10 race series. So and I'm looking forward to next week too, because I think we have a special guest next week.
Next week we'll be welcoming Mikayla Moore, right, out of the motorcycle series, the Build
Train Race BTR
Build
series.
Train Race BTR. Yep. So that'll be exciting. So, but until then, I want to go ahead and thank the sponsors: Ferrari Movie, Xbox, Alzheimer's Association, Luis Torres, Multimedia. He's out there making some multimedia at the what are they called? The Sea Dome, the Seattle Sea Dome. I don't know what they call it out there where the Mariners play. I don't know.
Play. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's the Dome is where the Seahawks play. I don't know. Anyway, I want to thank you, Lee. Thank you, Richard. I want to thank Facebook Live, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I want to thank Sinister One Productions and our producer, Keith Hayes. But most of all, I want to thank you folks that listened to Richard rant tonight because he really needed to get that off his chest. So until next week, good night.
Thanks for watching Drafting the Circuits. Make sure to follow Drafting the Circuits on Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. Drafting the Circuits is a Code Sinister One production.